Hi, this is Doma. Welcome back to my channel of Books and Soul. So today I wanted to talk to you about a second book by Jan Dobraczyński that I've read, and I've actually read it very recently. I chose it as my book for Easter because I thought it fit really well. The title of the book in English is The Letters of Nicodemus. And it's the second book that I've read by him, the first one being The Shadow of the Father. I gave a review and discussed that book in another video. I'll link it up here so you guys can check it out if you want. I am discovering more and more that I love this author. I think his style of writing is so wonderful. He makes it so easy to just enter this world of Jewish traditions and Jewish culture that we can understand biblical stories just so much better. And in this book, we have the perspective of Nicodemus, who, for those of you who know or who remember, is actually one of the people in the Gospels. He's a Pharisee, and he decides to go and visit Jesus at night, actually. So he kind of wants to hide and make sure that he's not seen by the other doctors of the law, by others, by anyone really, that he has some questions for Jesus and that he wants to ask him some things, and so he does it when it's nighttime. So the book is written in a very interesting way because we have Nicodemus who's writing letters to his friend where he is telling him kind of like the story that he sees slowly evolving of Jesus. So it actually starts with John the Baptist. He talks about his meeting with John the Baptist, and then he goes on to tell his friend about what he's learning about this fascinating person of Jesus, what he learns through either hearing stories from others, witnessing it himself, because there's at a certain point he actually goes to follow Jesus and see what he's doing, to stay with him for a little bit. Then he meets some of his disciples, and so he gets some more information from them. When Jesus comes to Jerusalem, that's where Nicodemus lives. He's able to follow the events of Jesus much easier when Jesus is in Jerusalem. So it's very interesting because we have this doctor of the law, we have this Pharisee with his very strong convictions, who is kind of watching from afar, from a distance, the events around Jesus as they're unfolding. But he, at the same time, he is really captivated and just really captured by this fascinating and strange person of Jesus. So, like I said before, Jan Dobraczyński is really good at showing us the Jewish world as it was at the time of Jesus's life. And it's just very refreshing. And he is literally telling us the gospel. Again, he's telling us he's following Jesus and some of the main events that you could also find in the Gospels. He is just able to show it and tell it in such a way that it's almost as if you're hearing about this for the first time. He gives such depth and such soul to some of these events that maybe have become kind of commonplace and maybe we've heard them so much over and over again. For this video, I thought I would share with you some ideas that really stuck with me this first time around reading the book. The first one is that of Jesus's love and his complete respect for our freedom. So I think it's nothing new to say that Jesus's message and the gospel is that of love, of loving other people, of loving God, and of loving your enemies. I mean, love is the central message of Jesus. And what I really like in this book is that Dobraczyński talks about all these miracles that Jesus does. He heals people, he throws out demons, he's able to resurrect people. He is just completely compassionate, and he wants to help people, right? He is touched by their misery and by their needs and their sicknesses and illnesses, and he wants to help them and heal them. But it's amazing how Dobraczyński doesn't just stop there, but he describes Jesus and his way of healing people as being kind of almost like a side thing. For him, for Nicodemus, who looks at Jesus, it seems almost as if for Jesus to heal someone is like, it's nothing. It's the least he can do. he keeps saying how it seems like Jesus wants to do so much more. He's willing to offer so much more. And when all we ask for is just, to not be sick or to be healthy, his eyes almost seem to say, that's it, that's all that you want. And he almost seems to say, don't you know I can give you so much more? Is this all that you want? But the cool thing is that, and Dobraczyński stresses this a lot, is that he never imposes himself. He, not even with the healing and the miracles, he is never the one to force people to ask for them, to force people to want them, to force them on people. So this complete and fundamental respect for the freedom of the humans he interacts with, of all human beings, is just incredible. Another theme that is very important in this book, I think, is that of being open to what you don't expect. So being open to the unexpected. And this, I think, can be seen very well with Nicodemus's opinions on Jesus's choice of his disciples. So he looks at all of these 12 men that are following him, and he sees Peter, he sees Judas, he sees John and Jacob, and he sees all their flaws. Peter is too loud. Judas is super arrogant. They all are just, they're uneducated. They're just workers. They're manual workers. They're fishermen, most of them. And Nicodemus, who is a doctor of the law, he's educated, he's super smart. He wonders, why does he invite them to such close friendship with him? For him, this is something strange. He doesn't understand. He feels like Jesus is making a mistake and he's kind of wasting potential here. He could have picked better people. But this is not the only thing that's kind of unexpected and strange for Nicodemus. When he begins to have the idea that maybe Jesus is the Messiah, he quickly goes back on that, or he doubts it, and then he wonders and he doubts again, and so on and so forth, because there are so many things in Jesus's life and in the way he is and what he does that just don't fit. There's something that just doesn't fit. This image of the Messiah that was so present in Nicodemus's in Jewish mentality. So Jesus wasn't exactly, a fighter. He was supposed to bring glory, and he wasn't supposed to mix with simple people, with workers, with fishermen, with women, and he did all that. And this proves to be an obstacle for Nicodemus. This proves to be in many moments something that kind of holds him back, because he has this one image in his head, and if something goes against that, then he quickly withdraws and he wonders if he should follow. But on the other hand, he's fascinated. He's fascinated with Jesus. He's fascinated with his miracles. He's in awe of them. And the critical moment comes during Jesus's crucifixion and death. Because this is something, and this actually is the next point I want to talk about. This is probably one of the most unexpected things about the Messiah. This is something that he just couldn't understand. Where is the glory? He dies on a cross, which is the most humiliating way to die. It's how criminals died, and that's what happens to Jesus. And so the third theme I want to talk about is the cross and Jesus' death. So Nicodemus has these reflections, and one of the things he says is that Jesus' death is nothing like what the Greeks would expect of heroes. The heroic, glorious ways of dying of the Greek heroes, and that Jesus is nothing like that. Whoever he is, his death is so human that it literally hurts. It hurts to watch. There's nothing beautiful in the cross. It's all just humiliating and revolting, and it's the worst. It's a horrible way to die. And yet Jesus embraces this cross. This is the way he chooses to die. So not only does he die, the Messiah dies, but he chooses this way to die, which is scandalous. It's the cross is a scandal. In general, that someone might want to embrace the cross. And so to wrap this up, once again, I really think all of you should read this book. It's so beautiful the way this book gives you hope in so many ways. Jesus chooses these simple, inadequate, sinful people to be his disciples. He chooses the worst. He chooses the worst to follow him. And I think it's really good to maybe see ourselves in this way as well. You know, sometimes I feel like we might think that we're not good enough, that who are we kidding, that we can ever account to something, that we are worth something. And then we can see that Jesus can make masterpieces out of people who might not seem like they're anything. He finds something beautiful in every single person, and he knows our potential, and he is the one who really can make the best out of the worst, really. So I think this is a really hopeful message, one that I definitely took with me. And the second one is again that of the cross. I think the message of Easter that we've just recently celebrated, I think it's just that. If Jesus embraced the cross and chose the cross, then with all its suffering, then with him, it's worth taking every cross and seeing what beautiful things he can bring out of that, what kind of resurrections can happen. So that's it for today. I hope you will read this book, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like this channel, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye!